Picture this. A cold, grey dawn breaks over London. The year is 1536, and a young queen kneels on a scaffold within the ancient walls of the Tower of London. Her name is Anne Boleyn, and in moments, a French swordsman's blade will sever her life from her body. The crowd is silent, the air heavy with dread. This is no ordinary fortress. This is the Tower of London, a place where royalty ruled, prisoners begged for mercy, and executioners sharpened their blades. Its stones have absorbed centuries of screams, betrayals, and bloodshed. Are you ready to step into its shadowed corridors and uncover the chilling stories that still haunt its walls? Welcome to a journey through time, where history is written in blood. If you're captivated by tales of power, tragedy, and the macabre, hit that like button to show your support. Share this story with others who crave history's darkest secrets, and subscribe for more gripping tales that bring the past to life. Your engagement keeps these stories alive, so let's preserve the lessons of history together. Like, share, subscribe, and let's dive into the fortress of death that is the Tower of London. Rising against the London skyline, the Tower of London stands as one of England's most iconic landmarks. Its imposing walls, built over 900 years ago, have borne witness to the rise and fall of kings, queens, and traitors. Constructed in 1078 by William the Conqueror, this fortress was designed to intimidate and protect, a symbol of Norman power in a newly conquered land. The White Tower, the heart of the complex, rose 90 feet high, its massive stone walls a stark declaration of dominance. Built from Kentish ragstone and imported stone from Normandy, it was virtually impregnable, a fortress meant to awe and subdue the Anglo-Saxon populace. William's vision was clear. This was not just a military stronghold but a statement of enduring rule. Over time, additional towers, walls, and fortifications transformed the complex into a sprawling symbol of royal authority. Yet, beyond its majestic walls lies a history steeped in blood, a place where royalty held court, prisoners languished in despair, and executioners carried out their grim duties. The tower's role evolved over the centuries. By the late 12th century, it was more than a palace. It became a royal prison, a treasury, a mint, and a menagerie. Most infamously, it was a place of execution and torture. To be sent to the tower was a phrase that struck terror into the hearts of those summoned to its gates. Its reputation as a fortress of fear was carefully cultivated. The moat, filled with water from the River Thames, added a layer of menace, while towers like the Bloody Tower and Beauchamp Tower loomed over the complex, their very names evoking dread. The tower was a paradox, a place of opulence where kings and queens held court, yet below, in dank cells, prisoners faced isolation, interrogation, and often death. This duality defined its identity, a fortress where glory and ruin were separated by a razor-thin line. Unlike common jails, the tower was reserved for high-profile prisoners, nobles, clergy, and even royalty. Its cells housed some of history's most famous figures, from queens to conspirators. Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's second wife, was imprisoned here in 1536, accused of adultery and treason. Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days' Queen, spent her final months within its walls in 1554. Sir Thomas More, a devout Catholic and statesman, was held for defying Henry VIII's claim as head of the Church of England. The conditions varied. Wealthy prisoners might enjoy furnished rooms and access to books, while others endured squalid dungeons with no light or hope. Yet, regardless of status, the psychological toll was immense. The uncertainty of one's fate, pardon, exile, or execution, gnawed at the spirit. The tower's walls seemed to whisper of doom, and for many, they were a one-way passage to oblivion. The tower's arsenal of torture devices added to its fearsome reputation. The rack, a brutal contraption, stretched prisoners' bodies until joints dislocated and muscles tore, often used to extract confessions. The scavenger's daughter compressed the body into agonizing positions, pressing chest to knees until breathing became torture. Manacles, thumbscrews, and other instruments were part of the grim inventory, each designed to break the will of the accused. These tools were not just about punishment, they were about control, a reminder of the crown's absolute power. Edmund Campion, a Jesuit priest, endured the rack in 1581, his suffering a testament to both his resistance and the authorities' cruelty. The Tower's torture chambers were a place where hope was crushed, and confessions, true or false, were wrung from broken bodies. Executions, however, are what cemented the Tower's bloody legacy. Most took place on Tower Hill, just outside the fortress, where crowds gathered to witness the condemned's final moments. These public spectacles were both a deterrent and a display of royal authority, a macabre form of entertainment. For high-status individuals, executions were held privately on Tower Green, shielded from the public eye. The axe and block were the most common tools. The condemned would kneel, placing their head on a wooden block, while the executioner aimed for a clean strike. A skilled executioner could deliver a swift death, but a botched job could prolong suffering, turning the scaffold into a nightmare. Executioners were both feared and reviled, often wearing masks to conceal their identities. Their tools, axes, swords, ropes, were meticulously maintained, and the role was often passed down through families, a grim profession on society's fringes. Among the Tower's most famous victims was Anne Boleyn, executed in 1536. Once Henry VIII's beloved, her failure to produce a male heir led to her downfall. Accused of adultery, treason, and incest, charges widely believed to be fabricated, she was imprisoned in the very apartments where she had stayed for her coronation. On May 19, 1536, she was led to Tower Green. Her final speech was hauntingly calm, proclaiming her loyalty to the king and her faith in God. Granted the rare privilege of a French swordsman instead of the traditional axe, her death was swift, but the emotional weight was immense. Anne's story is a poignant reminder of the fragility of power, where love could turn to betrayal in an instant. Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days' Queen, met a similarly tragic fate in 1554. At just 16, she was thrust onto the throne in a political coup, a pawn in a dangerous game of power. When Mary I, known as Bloody Mary, reclaimed the crown, Jane was imprisoned in the Tower. On February 12, 1554, she faced the scaffold on Tower Green. Her youth and innocence made her death heartbreaking, yet her composure in the face of death cemented her place in history. She reportedly recited a prayer and blindfolded herself, a young girl facing an unjust fate with remarkable courage. Sir Thomas More, a scholar and statesman, was another victim of Henry VIII's ruthless reign. His refusal to recognize the king as head of the Church of England led to his imprisonment in 1535. On July 6th, he ascended the scaffold with unwavering resolve, reportedly joking with his executioner to cut not too deep, for my neck is short. His death was a stark reminder of the clash between principle and power, a sacrifice for his faith that echoed through the ages. Perhaps the most horrifying execution was that of Margaret Pole, Countess of Salisbury, in 1541. At 67, she was accused of treason for her family's opposition to Henry VIII. Dragged to Tower Green, she refused to place her head on the block, proclaiming her innocence. The inexperienced executioner required multiple blows, turning her death into a gruesome spectacle. Her suffering became a symbol of the cruelty and chaos of Henry's reign, a stain on the Tower's history. Guy Fawkes, infamous for the gunpowder plot of 1605, faced an even more brutal fate. Captured and brought to the Tower, he endured torture on the rack, his signature reduced to a trembling scrawl. Sentenced to be hanged, drawn, and quartered, a punishment reserved for traitors, he leaped from the gallows on January 31st, 1606, breaking his neck and sparing himself the full horror. His defiance, even in death, added to the Tower's dark legend. Catherine Howard, Henry VIII's fifth wife, met her end in 1542. Accused of adultery and treason, the teenage queen was imprisoned and executed on Tower Green. Her youth and vulnerability made her death a tragic echo of Anne Boleyn's, a reminder of the dangers of life at court. These executions were not just punishments, they were spectacles that shaped the nation's collective memory, tales of ambition, betrayal, and tragedy preserved in the Tower stones. The Tower's role as a place of execution extended beyond the Tudor era. During the English Civil War, it housed royalists and parliamentarians alike. In the 18th century, Jacobite rebels faced the scaffold for their attempts to restore the Stuart monarchy. By the 19th century, public opinion began to shift. The brutality of executions, once accepted, started to disgust the public. The last public execution on Tower Hill took place in 1780, and by the 19th century, public executions were abolished. The tower's role as an execution site ended during World War II with the execution of Joseph Jacobs, a German spy, in 1941. By then, the tower had transitioned from a fortress of death to a historical monument. Yet the tower's bloody history lives on. Its walls tell stories of loyalty, betrayal, and the human cost of power. The yeoman warders, or beefeaters, guide visitors through its corridors, recounting tales of the condemned. The crown jewels, housed in the jewel house, draw millions, but it's the stories of the scaffold that linger. The tower is a storyteller, preserving the memories of those who met their end in its embrace. As night falls, its silhouette looms against the skyline, a chilling reminder of its past. The tower's cultural impact extends beyond its walls. It has inspired literature, from Shakespeare's plays to modern novels. It's a backdrop for films, a symbol of England's turbulent history. Its ghosts, Anne Boleyn, Lady Jane Grey, and others, are set to haunt its corridors, their stories kept alive by folklore. The ravens, long believed to protect the kingdom, add to the mystique. Legend holds that if the ravens leave the tower, and the kingdom will fall. Today, they are cared for by the Raven Master, a nod to the tower's enduring traditions. As we reflect on the tower's history, we're reminded of the resilience of those who faced its horrors. Their stories are not just tales of death, but of courage, defiance, and the enduring human spirit. The tower stands as a testament to the turbulence of history, its stones echoing with the cries of the condemned. It's a place where power was both celebrated and enforced, where justice was often cruel, and where lives were shaped by the whims of kings. So what does the tower teach us? It's a reminder that history is not just about dates and events, but about people, flawed, brave, and human. It challenges us to learn from the past, to question power, and to honor those who've faced it with dignity. If this journey through the tower's bloody history has moved you, let's keep the story alive. Like this tale to show your love for history. Share it with friends who are drawn to the past's darkest corners, and subscribe for more stories that uncover the truth behind the legends. Together, we can ensure that the voices of the tower's condemned are never forgotten. The Tower of London is not just a monument, it's a mirror, reflecting the best and worst of humanity. Let's carry its lessons forward, one story at a time.